Hello and welcome to our day early comics review video. I'm Jason
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every single Monday after the comics have arrived and we bagged and boarded them, Andy and I, we divide up the ones that we most want to read, the ones that we think people want to hear the most about. We give them a read and we do this spoiler light review show. So basically, we're going to tell you all about the first appearances, all the major collectible reasons you might want these books, but more than that, we're going to tell you what the issue number ones are about. It is
Mm.
hard to know which ones you're going to want to pick up when you go to your store, what the full story is about, what the art is like, the sort of person it would appeal to. So that's sort of the job we do on this show. If you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe. You can see some of the books we're going to go over in front of us. I think when all is said and done, we're doing 26 new comics and all their variants and incentives. So, fairly solid week.
hmm
Andy, what's up first?
What's up first is the long-awaited The Riddler Year One. So this is funny because we just had that like Riddler One Bad Day, and Riddler, from the Batman movie, he's getting a lot of love right now, including this, which is written by the Riddler actor Paul Dano, which is really cool.
Very unprecedented that they let the actor who played him, who
Yeah,
isn't known for writing, write the
I'm
comic.
not sure if that's ever happened in this way.
Right.
Maybe uh, actors have written comics, but like of the character they were in like the same year that movie came out. It's all very
Maybe
interesting.
he's character actor enough. He's like, look, DC, I've lived in the Riddler.
Yeah,
This whole production, I know his history.
I could almost see that. So what this is set from what I can tell, and I think what they intend, especially when you see the variant and everything, that this is in the Batman universe. This
Right,
is like
correct.
a prequel to the Batman.
It is canon to the
Okay.
Batman movie
Um,
universe.
so this is exploring uh his name wasn't Edward Nigma in the I forgot his name was Edward, but I
Mm,
forgot what his last name was. They've shook it up a little bit. Um but we're following him as kind of a young adult. He's got a, desk job. He's really good with numbers, no surprise there. And he just can't quite get a leg up in life. So he's really good at his job, and people know that he's really good at his job. But that still doesn't mean that he's the most popular guy around. It just means they'll come to him if they have an issue. But through his normal life, he tries to smile at a girl on a train when she gets up and moves to a different seat. Like the dude can't win for anything. He does beat himself up about this. It's a pretty, just in the tone of the movie too, a pretty sad, dark story. But um, he's started to hear these rumors of this guy dressed as a bat going around the city. And if you've watched the movie, you know that he kind of idolizes Batman and his kind of pursuit of justice and standing up for the little guy. And he thinks that what he's doing is helping Batman. So this even goes so far as he kind of finds a flaw in the place that he works for, where it seems like there could be some dirty money moving around. Some numbers don't add up.
yeah, he's a forensic accountant.
Yeah, and when he brings this to his superiors, they say, it's probably just a clerical error. Don't worry about it. So he kind of tries to take justice for himself, and you can imagine how that goes. Batman does make an appearance in this. He does get to see Batman, but as a lot of these kind of origin things are very much in shadow. You only see like silhouettes of Batman and all that. But I thought overall it was really good. The writing is uh, not over the top. I know I've read a lot of books by either actors or people from other fields coming in. Sometimes they can be overwritten
Yeah,
because it's like they've got so much idea.
too verbose also because they're
Yeah,
not used to sort of a visual medium. They're used
right.
to the written medium.
Paul Dano does a good job in letting the art, which I would say is has a hint of not as abstract as Department of Truth, but it there's some similarities in the style there. Um, but he really lets the art do a lot of the work too, in the way it should. And it's all, pretty much inside the Riddler's mind. So that's when you said, like, oh, maybe he had kind of already figured this stuff out. It kind of feels like that. He's like, I have the story. We're not going to get to tell it in a a other visual medium. It's not going to be in a movie or a series or whatever. But this story needs to be told about his origin. So it's very much like that. This is going to be a mini series. So this is just a part one. It's a to be continued. I'm not sure how many parts it is. I believe probably 3 to 5. That's usually how these things go. But overall, if you like the Batman movie, you like this interpretation of the Riddler, you'll definitely want to pick this up. I think it was a fun ride, very easy to read, but not simplistic. A lot of thought was put into it. So that is our A cover.
I'm glad they got it out pretty quickly. Like
Yeah.
Batman movie is still pretty fresh in everyone's minds.
Right, yeah. And then here is the Jim Lee variant. Very cool with his more adult Riddler look.
All right, so Strange Academy is back with a new ongoing series called Strange Academy Finals. It is by the same team that did Strange Academy. That is Scotty Young as the writer, with Humberto Ramos as the artist. So pretty much, that series ended and they said to be continued, and it's already back, which is really cool. So as the last series ended, Emily Bright led a revolution against the staff because of things that she perceived that they did wrong. And some of the students kind of went with her, some of them did not. And the ones that went with her, they ended up at a new base in the Dark Dimension. So this picks up there where they've been in the Dark Dimension a little while, and there is now dissension within their ranks. In fact, Emily kind of gets in a big argument with Zoe Laveau. They used to be close friends, but by the end of this issue, they're not going to be friends anymore. Meanwhile, you get to see what's going on at regular Strange Academy. Doyle Dormammu, one of the breakout characters from the first series, he's still at the academy, and he tries to do a spell that gets really messed up because he has this great fear that one day he is going to be super evil, like a super villain, and that kind of messes up the spell. You'll have to read it to see how that goes. Lastly, this issue catches up with Calvin. He is the character who was kicked out of Strange Academy, and he's now working sort of for Gaslamp, the big villain who was introduced in the last series, but we haven't seen much of Gaslamp. Well, things run afoul for him with Gaslamp, and it looks like they're setting Gaslamp up to be the big villain, at least of this first arc, and he seems pretty mean. So no major first appearance. It's a lot of like getting back to the characters, showing where they're all at. Just a solid issue, just a good read. The same art style, the same care and craft that was put into the previous series. So if you enjoyed that last series, I see no reason you will not like this one. We got some variants to show you. We have the Weaver variant, the Weaver trading card with Doyle Dormammu. We have the Riley Window Shade variant. It seems like Riley's kind of taken over for Fornes. And then we have the NetEase variant. I wonder how many more of these NetEase variants they're going to do.
There's plenty of characters in the Marvel Universe. Got to do them all.
I know. They at least look good.
Yeah. So how easy do you think this is a place for new readers to jump on?
So new readers could jump into it. They're not going to get as much because there is a full page explanation of what has been going on. I mean, a lot went on in the last series, so it is a few paragraphs.
Yeah.
If you read that, you'll be caught up. You'll enjoy it. But definitely better for people who have read the previous series.
So I always feel if you're committed to reading it, if you go, I really want to read this book. It looks really cool. You'll find a way. You'll pick up the hints and everything along the way. Okay, next up is a book that I'm glad we do this show because I feel like if you just saw this, you would have no idea what it's about. This is Damn Them All.
It looks like it's about a well-dressed carpenter.
I was about to say, it's like the cover makes it look like John Wick, but this time he's gonna build houses.
He's a handyman.
So this is by Simon Spurrier and Charlie Adlard. So we've seen a little bit of Charlie Adlard's work since the end of Walking Dead. He had Vampire State Building, that one.
Vampire State Building.
Yeah. But this is, I feel like, the kind of big next step for him. So it is in color, unlike, which it kind of gave me the vibes like, oh, is this going to be in black and white too? Is that just his thing? No, this is in color. And this is, begins with first person. Comic first person is always an interesting thing. With our character named Ellie, and she is trained. She's being trained to do magic by her uncle. So you don't really know how old she is. She's probably like kind of younger at this point. She doesn't believe in magic. She just thinks it's, tricks and pulling rabbits out of hats and card tricks and all that. Well, she learns from her uncle that magic is very real and it's a pretty dark thing. But what I like about this, you've got to establish in your book that's about magic. Um, what kind of magic is it? To what extreme? What are the rules? That's a very important thing. It's really funny in this because uh, her uncle explains to her that it's more about intention than it is like the ceremony of it. So, uh, they can't find like a lion skin that they're supposed to find. So they find an old cat. And he's supposed to have this like a headdress for a certain spell, but he just makes it out of cardboard because it's more about the intention. You're making it look like you're putting an effort. So it's kind of it has an interesting tone to its magic, but she doesn't believe it. But she witnesses something, a summoning that pretty much knocks her out for 3 days. She sees something crazy, and now she's a believer. It jumps 12 years into the future, and she is now known as Bloody L. And this is very written phonetically with English dialect. And so, Bloody L, you can figure out kind of the tone of all of this. Yeah. Um, but she ends up going to a funeral. There's a bunch of bad people there, some mobsters and everything. All of a sudden, a giant demon shows up, and we've come to find out that there has been 72 spirits or demons unleashed that she is going to have to help round up. It's a really interesting start to the series. It's not like Pokemon Gotta Catch 'Em All, but it's like, hey, the demons are now easier to get to summon. Your lesser magicians can summon them. So what are you gonna do when all these like half-wit magicians start getting their own demons? She's gonna have to find them and stop them. So, and she uses a hammer, which is very interesting. You'll have to read why she uses a hammer. But the best description, as I was reading this, if you were a fan of the Hellblazer Vertigo series, back when Constantine was at Vertigo, more mature, more language, more everything, kind of that irreverent, swagger he had about magical things and not being overly impressed by them, then you will like this. It was a very Vertigo Hellblazer, but is set in this new magic world. The art is great, Charlie Adler stuff. It looks similar to Walking Dead, but now it's in color, so it does stand alone. It doesn't just look like a rehash of his old style. He's bringing something new to the table, especially with some of the more magical elements. So, highly recommend this one. I think this was one of the best reads of the week because it just felt very fresh, like something I hadn't read in a long time. So that is Damn Them All. This is our Charlie Adler A cover.
Comparing it to Vertigo Hellblazer sounds good, and
Yeah.
certainly in that series, Constantine said "bloody L" quite a bit.
Yes.
Quite a bit of time.
They say instead of "isn't it," they say "in it," and phonetically. So we have a foil version of the cover.
Ooh, shiny.
Shiny. We have I really like this one because I'm a big fan of Becky Cloonan. It's also very Hellblazer vibes because I think she did some art on Hellblazer. We have the Inject Lee variant with L. We have the Danny variant. We have the Danny Foil variant. And we have the one per store Danny Virgin variant that we're selling for $25 store customers.
All right, so Punchline has a new miniseries called Punchline the Gotham Game. This is going to be a 6-issue miniseries written by Teeny Howard with art by Gleb Melkinoff,
Yeah,
I believe.
Miltonov.
Yes, Gleb Melkinoff is doing the art inside this. So, what is going on in this? Punchline has just been released from prison. She was exonerated through a trial that was very frustrated to all the good lawyers of Gotham. But for every good lawyer of Gotham, you got like three or four that can be bought. So she's out now. What is she up to? She's up to something called the Gotham game. That's her new plan. Since this is a 6-issue series, you will not learn what that plan exactly is this issue. It's one of these things where it's going to be revealed bit by bit to us. It has a lot to do with social media. That's a big facet of her character. She has a big social media following that she utilizes. You can see some of that in this. Past that, though, she is going to reform the Royal Flush Gang. She gets a few members to it. In fact, we get first appearance of a couple new characters that are part of her gang. I don't think they're anything major. I don't think you got to go buy 20 issues of this for these characters, but they are named, um, and they are now a part of her new Royal Flush Gang. But is he going to get away with all this without anybody noticing? Let's just say that somebody is keeping a watch on her, a certain major crusader of Gotham, who I think he does appear in this somewhat, but I think is going to appear more in this. Fortunately, no Joker appearance in this though. So that's the general premise to Punchline Gotham game #1. It's a lot of setup, a lot of her kind of putting her people in place. Plan has not solidified yet. We got some really good variants for this. Here is the Derek Chew variant. Chew, he's switched. He's off of Harley. Now he's on the Punchline. I don't think Harley would put up with that if she were around. But here's the Rose Besh variant. I'm glad to see Besh still doing covers.
Yeah.
And then there is a 1 in 25 Albuquerque variant that we are selling to our customers for $20.
And next up for me is Amazing Spider-Man #12. What is his legacy numbering? This is 906. So, as you can see on the cover, this is all about Spider-Man versus Hobgoblin. So Hobgoblin showed up in the previous issue, but who is this Hobgoblin? There's been a couple of people who have donned the mantle, but Peter Parker thinks he's pretty much got tabs on everyone who's been Hobgoblin. He knows where they all are. Um, he's dealing with a lot of goblin stuff right now. Norman Osborn, he's kind of working for him. Even Norman seems to be. We know that Norman's going to take on the Gold Goblin spect, and we see him kind of researching that suit in this one. But as soon as Peter thinks he's figured out who the Goblin is, and he goes to find that person, he finds them. But who suddenly attacks that spot? Hobgoblin. So whatever theories he had are out the door. But in this, Hobgoblin does get unmasked, which I think is pretty cool. This isn't like strung on for a long, long time. And there is a final page reveal that explains a lot, but also throws a whole new wrench in Spider-Man's world. So, pretty cool issue. Romita Jr. is back on art for this one. I know we're leading up to the dark web stuff, but I'm enjoying this Hobgoblin story that's coming. First, we've got a couple of variants. We have the Bellotto variant with Miracle Man. And we have, I guess this is technically our first cover appearance of Gold Goblin, because he is on this Riley Window Shades variant.
Yeah, look at that.
And I don't believe he's appeared on anything else, any other covers. So.
Can't think of any, but
only time will tell how big of a character he'll be, but at least we know he's going to be in this series, and he's got his own mini-series coming up. So
I want to see Silver Surfer versus the Golden Goblin.
Oh, yeah.
Let the two metals fight it out.
And then the bronze somebody comes in at the end.
Iron Man's old bronze outfit shows up. Yeah. Okay, so this is Lovesick #1 by writer-artist Luana Vecchio. This was, I read it inside. This was translated to English, so I don't know what original language it was in, possibly
Yeah, I
Italian,
think it
maybe.
may be Italian.
So here's my pitch for this. Did you like Red Room? Do you like Red Room? You want more Red Room because that is what this is. Okay, it's done by a whole different creator, but it is basically Red Room. So on the cover is our main character. Her name is Domino, and she runs a online dark web Red Room type place where consenting men go on her show, and she tortures and kills them. And the whole point of this is supposed to show uh, just sort of the intricacies of consent, like, how much consent can you give someone, something like that. There's a little statement by the creator at the end saying that that was the point of this.
Mm.
What how much is over the line? I think the whole thing is over the line. But if you like Red Room, I see no reason you would not like Lovesick as well. This is a very R-rated comic,
Mhm.
R-rated plus. You like there is torture, there is killing, there are no good people in it, and I mean there really isn't much plot other than here's this character, here's what she's doing. Let's show you one example of this. Okay, and now you know. I think going forward they're gonna now add into the plot. But it's if you want to see some messed up stuff, here it is. So we got a few covers for you. Here is the Mahfood variant. Then we have the Levette variant. They even called the thing she's doing a red room several times in this. Um, Here is the Chio variant, the writer creator. And then we have the Mirka and Dolfo variant.
Adolfo's got a dark side that she occasionally taps into for some of these covers.
Yep.
Okay, next up is a new Batman book. Whoa! This is Batman Gotham Knights Gilded City. So the new game Gotham Knights just came out. This is a prequel comic to that, set in that universe. I have not played the game yet, so I'm not super familiar with the story. I know in the game, supposedly, I don't know if it's true or not, that Batman is dead. So, but in this, Batman is in it. I guess we're leading up to the events at the beginning of the game. And in it, there has been some kind of like scarecrow. I'm not sure if we know if it really is Scarecrow, but they describe it as kind of a move Scarecrow would do is releasing this kind of toxin to Gotham that makes people like super enthusiastic about whatever they're into. So, one of the examples is they're at a restaurant and suddenly everyone has to take pictures of their food and they're just like climbing all over each other to take all the pictures of all the food. And then different members of the Bat family are at different places. One is like some video game super fans are like gotta get into this gaming store and get all the new stuff. And I think there's one that's like for some kind of like special shoe. All the people are like busting in the shoe store and just over enthusiastic about it. And they kind of talk about like this seems like a thing that Scarecrow would do instead of scaring them, messing with their emotions. But what's interesting about this book is that is one of the storylines going on. There's another storyline going on that takes place in Gotham in 1847. So it was a kind of a shock when you're reading this just like regular Batman book, and then suddenly you get thrust back in time where there is a new vigilante, I guess an old vigilante, called the Runaway. The Runaway.
That person on the cover who's opposite
Yes.
Batman there.
And we see a scene of some freed slaves who are kind of trying to cross a border, and they're showing these people like, "Hey, here's our document saying that we're freed," and they were like, "We don't care." And so suddenly, the runaway comes in to save them. So that is, we've got those two storylines going on. Along with that, we see Nightwing, who is apparently not wanting Batman in the city. It kind of reminds me of Batman the Animated Series, where you see they're where he doesn't really agree with what Batman's doing. That's kind of setting up something to come, I believe. The other big thing about this is if you have the game, there is an exclusive code at the back of the book that, for this issue at least, I know this is going to work out a lot like the Fortnite books. If you redeem each of the codes at the end, you'll get something special that you only get if you had all of them. But at least for this issue, you get a new skin for your Bat Cycle. It shows it to you at the end of it. These do come polybagged, like the Fortnite comics. So I opened one to be able to read it, but the A cover and all the variants are polybagged. So that is issue number 1 of Gilded City. I thought it was interesting, the Batman part, but I think I'm almost more interested in the Runaway part because this is the first appearance of a new character that I think I like the period piece, but that period also has their own heroes that we're exploring. Not sure how the two are going to tie together. Maybe if you played the game, you know. But we've got some variants. First off, we have, this is the games variant, Red Hood. We have the wraparound Jim Lee cover. You can see the one side of it here. I'm not sure if you can see. Yeah, the other side with Nightwing and Robin. We have the Yannick Paquette variant. And lastly, we have the 1 in 25 Mutant variant. We're selling to our customers for $20.
All right, so one of my favorite reads this week is Moon Knight's 2022 annual. So, as with most annuals, this is just sort of a one and done story. A really cool one. Look at the cover. Moon Knight is reunited with Werewolf by Night. It is not a happy reunite. They don't get together and shake hands. This is totally not what happens in this. So this is by the regular series writer Jed MacKay. The art is done by Federico Sabatini. So in this, Moon Knight's, that's Marlene shows up. Okay, this is a character, if you know your Moon Knight history, she's very important to him. And she tells Moon Knight, hey, guess what? Our daughter, Beatrice, has been kidnapped by Werewolf by Night, whose name is Jack Russell, by the way. He's kidnapped our kid, and he's going to kill Beatrice. So Moon Knight's like, I'm not having that. So he gets Hunter's Moon because he knows that Werewolf by Night is now considered sort of the king of the werewolves and that he'll have help. And him and Hunter's Moon go up against all the werewolves and Jack Russell himself. And I mean, there's a real battle. Like, it's not one of these, they're going to fight and they don't. There's a real fight. There's pretty clear of a winner. Just a very eventful issue. But I think the bigger part to this, and I'm not going to reveal, is why is Jack Russell kidnapping Beatrice? Which he is. He definitely does. And he does intend to possibly kill her or do her harm. He has a reason for this. You'll have to read why. Of course, this has a lot to do with Khonshu and a lot to do with, I guess, what really is being a bad guy versus doing what you have to do in a desperate situation. So just a great one-shot. Jed MacKay, he writes the comics and they're awesome. Good art as well. If you're already reading the series, I'm sure you're getting this. But if you're not reading the series and you just want a good one and done, this is the one.
So it's a one and done. You don't think any of this is going to carry on in the main series?
No, I do not believe so. But I will say, if Jack Russell, Werewolf by Night, and Mark Spector meet again, they're probably going to try to kill each other right off the bat. So, as far as the variants, here is the Klein variant. And then there is this 1 in 25 Sienkiewicz variant that is currently going for about $50 right now.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, once other retailers put theirs up, it may drop in price, but that's the current price of it right now as we're filming this.
Next up, I've got Vanish number 2. I love issue number 1 of this. This is the Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman, your Venom team, come back together to tell this kind of anti-hero story. I know everyone who read this really liked it at our store. Wanted to talk about it because it was kind of a twist where we thought it would be one thing. Turns out to be more fantasy it's where like fantasy and 90s dark superhero meet. So we have our main character Oliver. We learned that he grew up in kind of a Harry Potter-esque world where he went to this magical school and everything, but it turns out it wasn't that great. He's had a pretty rough life since he kind of defeated the big bad, um, and after that, it's kind of been all downhill for him. So we pick up in this one where he has found out that some of the bad guys from when he was a kid are back posing as superheroes. So now we have this character who, to the world, looks like a supervillain fighting the superheroes, but it's all switched around. In this one, we learn more about the school that he went to and kind of some messed up stuff his teachers did, the kind of trials they put them through. Especially the first thing, I was pretty shocked. I won't give it away, um, by what was the real world event that the students witnessed in this. And props for Ryan Stegman for being able to draw it because I think it'd be very hard to draw. But that really sets the mood for like how crazy this world that they've created is, and we learn more about, or at least we see all the other superheroes in their kind of evil Justice League in this. It's pretty cool. You find out a little bit who were our main character's friends growing up, and now he's going to have to go back to them to try to get their help and explain what's been going on. Really good issue. I need to reread it because I'm sure I missed some stuff in it. It's chock full. The art is great. Really fun issue of Vanish #2. And we have the variants. We've got a Daniel Warren Johnson variant. Very cool. And we have this 1 in 10 Ryan Otley variant that we're selling to our customers for $10. And I'm going to get one.
All right, so I read Detective Comics number 1065, the ongoing story by Ram V with art by Raphael Albuquerque. And in this one, Batman ends up in the middle of a battle between the Arzans and the Al Ghuls. So, I mean, there's this big battle raging. He kind of reaches it late and ends up having to battle like one of the main enforcer guys, which is, it doesn't go real well for Batman in this. He's a little unprepared. So that's part of what goes on in this. The other part is the Arzans stake their claim that they own Arkham and always have owned Arkham. So yeah,
It's an
you'll have
interesting
to
little twist on lore.
you'll have to hear what they say and how they. I mean, by the end of the issue, it looks like they may end up with Arkham Asylum and all the land and everything.
Now, did they
So
address Arkham post A-Day Arkham? Because it's been kind of a
they have, yeah.
kind of a no man's land
Yeah,
since then.
you get the sense they want it for more than the building. Like there may be ancient
Of
reasons
course,
they
there
want
are something
that.
under the ground or something.
Yeah, so and then lastly, Commissioner Gordon is in this issue. He's kind of ends up having to help Batman out, and it looks like he's going to be doing things from the sidelines. And I said that wrong. He's no longer the commissioner.
Right. Yeah, he's
So
retired.
yeah,
at this
Renee Montoya is the commissioner, so he's just doing it on his own.
point.
But you know, he's always going to be friends with Batman.
Yeah.
So a lot of different little things going on in Detective Comics number 1065, and here is the variant. This is the Jim Lee and others variant.
Jim Lee and others.
Yeah, Lee's been teaming up with other people
Yeah.
to do it. I think it's him and 2 other artists did this one. And then here is the 1 in 25 Simmons variant that we're selling to our customers for $20.
People have really been enjoying this run of Detective. I think it's been a nice kind of change of pace tonally.
Yeah, the art being a bit more gothic has
Yeah.
been cool as well.
Okay, next up, I've got the final issue of Axe. Judgment Day. The last time I have to say Avengers, X-Men, Eternals, Judgment Day.
And that's got to be a Brooks cover.
This is a Brooks cover, and it is
Telling it
beautiful.
a mile away.
I mean, he's got a way of making people, you know, quote unquote, shine but like the highlights on that and everything are beautiful. So this has been a crazy, crazy ride in this event book. Um, Learning a lot about the Eternals, characters that I'm not like the most familiar with, the X-Men and the Avengers. Some pretty crazy stuff happened in the previous one where Captain America was killed and then brought back using the Krakoa regeneration technology, which is the first non-mutant that was done to. So Captain America is back to lead the final front against the progenitor, who is basically ready to wipe everyone out because people aren't worthy enough.
Boo to that, progenitor.
Yeah, exactly.
We judge you.
So this is an interesting one. As you can imagine, it's hard to take on a celestial just by flinging your shield at him or
It's
whatever.
a regular fisticuffs.
Yeah, so you'll have to learn how they approach this fight and this situation. I don't want to give it away because this is the last issue of the storyline. But the things I will say is an Eternal that people know, takes on a new role, potentially a new kind of name and role that could come back to play later. I don't know, in the Eternals book, or could be even something as big as like a sequel to Judgment Day. I thought that was a really cool evolution of a character. And then a big decision is made by, mostly it seemed Jean Grey is the one who decides this, but a big decision is made about how they are going to use their Krakoan technology going forward. And with anything else, it's going to be hard to see how this is going to last or end well for them. They may have the best intentions, but they're getting to some shaky territory with the power that the mutant kingdom holds. So, interesting last issue of Axe Judgment Day. There is an Omega issue that's going to be coming out, I think, to kind of tie up all the loose ends and everything. But I'm very interested to see what happens with the different groups after this, especially the Eternals and the X-Men. So that is the final issue of that. We've got a few variants. We've got the Peach Momoko variant. She's had one for each of these. We've got this beautiful, they even released this as a poster first. This is the Art Germ Dazzler cover.
All right, so there is a new Star Trek ongoing series, and it is just called Star Trek. The issue #1 is coming out this Wednesday. It's pretty interesting. Look at the team here on the cover. These are characters you never see together, and that's some of the point of this. So at the center of this issue is Benjamin Sisko. So Benjamin Sisko, he was abducted by some very powerful aliens. I'm guessing this happened maybe at the end of the last series, or I'm not fully up to date. As much as I do like Star Trek, I don't know every little detail. Anyway, he was whisked away by these very powerful aliens. He's been gone for 3 years, and he suddenly appears back. And I mean, out of thin air, he just sort of like reforms. And so the aliens told him he had a greater destiny, that he needed to get a ship and he needs to get this very specific, really crew from all throughout time. So he goes to Picard for help, which is a very interesting scene because the two of them do not see eye to eye. But he does end up getting the ship. It wouldn't be a very good series if he was told
Everyone
no.
told him no.
And so in this series, he is teaming up with Data. He's teaming up with Scotty. He's teaming up with Beverly Crusher. These are all characters on his
All-star
team. Yeah, and some new characters too. I've never seen. I think their first appearances, and they're going up against a force so powerful that it is destroying gods. So yeah, a lot at stake here. And on top of that, for those of you who love Star Trek like me, the crystalline entity is in this. In fact, several crystalline entities are in this. And it looks like next issue they're going to have some Klingons get in there too. I mean, you got to have some. So that is what's going on in the first issue of IDW's new ongoing Star Trek series. It was good to read. If you don't know Star Trek, You might want to go watch your Star Trek first before picking this one up. So, as far as variants, here is the Shalvey variant with Benjamin Sisko on there. Here is the Asia variant.
That one's cool.
Yeah, I like it too. Aja with the coloring. The coloring's always so good. And here is the Stott variant. Some of the characters. If Beverly Crusher's on the team, maybe we're gonna see Will Wheaton's character.
He's gonna be the big bad guy.
Wesley Crusher. He's gonna be the one killing gods. That would be hilarious. Here is the 1 in 25 Rosanus variant that we are selling to our customers for $15. Black and white on the holodeck. Or the transporter. Sorry.
Okay. I was very happy with this issue. So this is Action Comics 1048. And this is part 3 of the Return of Kal-El, which has turned out to be kind of less of an event, less of like, oh, you've got to read every issue, and more of just like a point in time, he's back, and we're kind of checking out different scenarios with him in it. This doesn't directly lead from the Son of Kal-El Superman issue. It's just more of him being back. What I like about this is it really embraces some of the funnier parts of Superman's lore, at least a certain character. So in this, Lois takes the new adoptive children that Clark brought back from Warworld, and she's trying to teach them a little bit about what Earth's like. So she decides to take them to the zoo, which they do not understand. They think that the animals are bad and this is animal jail. But there they meet Superman's best pal, Bibbo, who, if you aren't familiar, he's just this guy that hangs around a bar and just considers himself Superman's best friend. But Superman does really like him. Like he's a really good guy, human character. But in this, it's just nice to see this character meet these kids and really accept them, and eats ice cream with them and everything. You get a lot of that, like, good. I don't want to say like wholesome Superman story, but it's always nice just to see like the good people that Superman surrounds himself with. Now, on the other end, we have Superman out in space where he notices there's some anomaly in the sky. Turns out that some citizens, some new gods show up. I won't say which ones, just because it's always fun to see. And they are not too happy with Superman's new powers. So he had lost his powers on Warworld, and he got them back, but through a kind of deity type thing that the new gods say he stole it from, and this is bad news for them, and they're going to try to stop Superman. So I thought it was a really fun issue. You've got you've got a really great just single punch scene that you'll have to see. I think is really fun. But overall, I really like this return of Kal-El storylines, because you really get to see just kind of why everyone loves him and why he's so important to the DC universe, and kind of that hope he inspires wherever he goes. So I do not have the variant for it, but we have this really nice A cover. We know some really big things are going to be coming up with Superman and the Superman family. The beginning of the year, we're leading to 1050. It's only 2 issues. So I think this is as good as any spot to jump into Action Comics.
All right, so I read Venom issue number 12. So my first question to you, dear viewer, is this 2 different symbiotes fighting, or is this a symbiote makeout session? You be the judge. You'll have to buy the issue to find out. Okay, so of course this is written by Ram V with art by Brian Hitch. This issue is really interesting because Dylan Brock, as of last issue, there's sort of a symbiote form of his father who tells him that there are things about himself he doesn't know that are going to be revealed. And some of that gets revealed in this issue. Like, what exactly is Dylan? Is he 100% human, or is he something more? Something is posed to him in this issue that he is not just human, and he may have other powers. On top of that, there's the return of a character from the Donny Cates run who's only in a few issues and has never been in the Marvel Universe proper.
Hmm.
He was in a different multiverse era. And if those of you who read that Cates run and really know it well, you probably know who I'm talking about. And this is a character I didn't think we'd see back, but I mean, it's sort of a last page. Oh, wow, they're here and they are going to be in the next issue. So, pretty interesting issue of Venom. I really like what the symbiote kind of tells Dylan, but I can't ruin that. I'll take the fun away from you. So no first appearance or anything like that, but I do think it is significant this character's return to the regular Marvel Universe this time. So that's all I dare tell you about Venom number 12. And then I mean this kind of reveals some stuff. Here is the variant. This is the Ryan Stegman did two variants. So here is one variant. You may know who that is. And here's the other Stegman variant, but this is a Miracle Man variant. But fighting Venom, Venom just coming off the comic pages to fight him.
It's very fitting of Miracle Man and his relationship to comics, and
Right.
he kind of breaks the fourth wall, or that kind of stuff. Okay, next up for me, I have a really interesting one. This is Sara Lone. So this is from Sumerian Comics, and this one I did not know what to expect. This is actually the C cover for that. And if you're a fan of very European style comics where they usually have, there's a certain style, pretty thin lines, a lot of panels per page, you will like this. Also, if you're a crime noir fan, you will like this. So the story basically is some kids are, I wrote, fooling around on the beach. When one of them looks up and says, "Hey, there's a creep over there watching us." And the guy goes up to tell this guy off and realizes it's just a head. So the police are called, and an investigation starts of who this person is, and how did this happen. It leads to uh, person interviewing person, all the way leading to they find out that this person that was on the beach, their daughter is named Sara Lone. She lives in New Orleans, and what is her relationship with her father? What does she know more than she's saying? Why is she suddenly gonna go on the run? Just a lot of that classic crime noir story, when you're backed into a corner, good people do bad things, just a lot of stuff like that. So if you're a fan of that kind of tone of book, I think you'll really like this. I think it's always refreshing to kind of see. I'm sure this is translated. It definitely feels like a translated book. Um, but trying something new. It's smaller. This isn't, it's
Yeah, that's not a white banner at the
no,
top.
no,
That's the board.
yeah, it's a smaller book. Now there's quite a few covers for this. So this is the C cover, and then I have what is this? This is the B cover. I believe they're all by the interior artist, Moricchio. And this is the 1 and 5 variant. And there is a few other variants, but they are too spicy to show on the show. But the funny thing about it is the covers are, there's not really anything like that in the book. Like, it's, I don't want to say it's like tame, but it's, there's,
They know what sells.
yeah, it's like a teen plus book. But that's it, and be on the lookout for it if you want to try out something new.
Okay. Speaking of new books, I read Eternal Descent #1. Look at that cover. Rockin' demon babe with a guitar.
Yeah, I think it's a Megan Hetrick cover.
Yeah, indeed it is. And so this is by Opus Comics, who have done sort of comics for bands. And this one is not a band they're doing it for. It is about music, though. It's by Michael Morisi with art by Marco Lorenzana. This is sort of magic, music, mythology, and mystic runes all mixed together in a comic. So our main character, who you see on the cover, but this is not the form you see her in. She's just a normal human. Her name is Lyra. She is or was a musician. Her musical career is doing poorly to where she's sort of given up on it. And instead, she ends up starting to investigate. Her father went missing years ago. He left some book with runes. I don't know why it took her so long to get around to look into this. Well, anyway, she follows that, and eventually she finds a magical guitar.
Oh
You
man.
know, we're talking like in a cave in the middle, like a stalagmite. She finds a magical guitar. It was placed there by some god, and it looks like the guitar has something to do with the fate of humanity. So she does not turn into this form in this issue. I'm assuming this is going to happen later on. It better. I mean, that's the form you want to
That's
see.
promising a lot.
Yeah, so that doesn't happen in this issue. This is more just the setup. The interior art is decent. I don't think it's as good as this cover.
Hmm.
But still, if you like, I guess, your music comics that are too much, um, you might like this, where it's not just music, but like you got to know the different chords to make the things light up, the runes light up in the right way. That's sort of what
That
they're
sounds
going
like a
for
video
here.
game.
Yeah. So here is the 1 in 5 Metcalf variant that we're selling for $8. And then here is a really good 1 in 10 Gonzalez variant that we're selling
It's
for
really
10
nice.
bucks. And that's more how she looks in the book,
Mhm.
in her non-demon form, which will probably be next issue.
Okay, so one of my favorite books coming out right now, and there's only been 2 issues, this being the second, is X-Terminators. So I was super shocked with how much I liked the first issue of this. I know this was one of those, like, people had to word of mouth hear about it.
They did. People kept coming in
Yeah.
ever since that's done, hearing how cool it was.
So I feel like, I don't know if it's the marketing or whatever, it didn't really translate to the tone of this book. But in the first issue and in this one, you open the page and there's like a parental warning, but like kind of tongue in cheek about like how hardcore this book is and everything. We follow, of course, Dazzler, Jubilee, Boom Boom, and as of the last page of the previous issue, X-23, Laura Kinney, as they are in this crazy night out that has led to vampires and secret societies and all this stuff. They're just trying to be out having a good time. They've got pulled into this like the X-Men do. And it seems like once they've made it through all the crazy challenges of the first issue, they came up against the big boss, at least, the big fight with X-23, who recognizes him. It's like, oh hey, really fun tone to this book, but the vampire stuff definitely gears up. We even get some familiar vampire names, not Dracula, but maybe some relatives of Dracula. That is pretty cool to see. It's even kind of reference Jubilee's past with vampires. Um, the This is kind of it's bookended with just kind of setup and stuff, but the meat of this book is action, where the X team gets put in a kind of mirror maze glass, and every time they look at a reflection of themselves, that reflection comes to life and tries to kill them. So they can't help it. They're like, I can't stop looking at myself. And then the reflection jumps out and grabs them. It is just chaos. There's tons of all these characters, there's multiples of them. If you want over the top fights, just an action packed X-Men book, this is it. Uh, just super fun dialogue, and I can't wait to see where this is going with where it ends, and all the crazy vampire stuff. So that is Exterminators #2, the A cover, and then we have the B cover. I'm not sure right off who did it because they don't list it on the cover. Really cool.
Okay, so I read Harley Quinn, issue number 23. So check out that cover. It looks like Harley Quinn is going up against Damian Wayne, and that is exactly what happens in this issue. This is not false advertising on the cover, as happens very often. So in this issue, I guess last issue, Harley Quinn was killed. Somebody shot her and killed her, a mysterious person. And her friend Kevin takes her to the Lazarus pit where she comes back to life. But the question is she changed? In this issue, people have heard that Harley died and came back. So she is now the head suddenly of a cult who she names the Quintessentials. But that's really not what the issue is about. That's like a side thing that happens. What the issue is about is Damien's heard what happened with the Lazarus pit, and he shows up thinking that Harley is probably changed for the worse, and he's going to take her down. They have a fight. And what I like is they have a full fight, and there is a clear winner to this fight. When you read the issue, if you read the fight, you will see who wins, at least in this one battle between Harley and Damien. Um, let's see what else happens in this. I guess lastly, the person who shot and killed Harley is seen but not revealed. You know, we're talking cloaked figure.
Hmm.
You don't get a face or anything. So they're still in it, and but the reveal has not happened yet. Lastly, I guess the question is still not answered. Has Harley been changed by the Lazarus pit? The last couple panels, you'll have to see for yourself, but it looks like maybe she might be at least for a while, going back to her villainous ways. It's hard
Hmm.
to tell, though. This book jokes around a lot.
Yeah.
So, of course, this is written by Stephanie Phillips with art by Matteo Lally. Lally wasn't doing the art at the beginning of this run, it switched over. And as much as I like the earlier art, I like the Lally art is sort of better for me.
Hmm.
So, anyhow, another great issue of Harley. Just been a really good series to read. And here we have the Lyrics variant.
Yeah, because we don't have Chew doing the variants, but they had to get somebody just as good to come in there
Yeah.
and do them. So very cool. Okay, next up I have our next issue of Stuff of Nightmares. I love this Francavilla cover. It harkens back to the old DC horror books. So this is the book by R.L. Stine, and it's interesting that it does, usually when I thought coming to this it's going to be like an anthology book, but no, it actually does continue the story from the first one, but almost the tone of the story changes a little bit. You'll have to read it to see, but it's like instead of being an anthology, it's the same characters, but they go from like one horror situation to another horror situation. Pretty cool. So I don't want to give away any of that. That's the fun of reading these horror books, is the surprises. You can tell just on this cover. What's it? Frankie, that little guy on the front, he is in it. It's pretty creepy. Um, this also has the kind of narrator, the Nightmare Keeper, and I'm really interested in his character, even though he's just kind of your Crypt Keeper type character. For the first issue and now this one, he shows off a piece in his collection. The piece doesn't really have anything to do with the story. So I'm wondering if all of those are going to be kind of gathered up and present at the end. This one, he does show in his collection, he has the left eyebrow of Charles the First, King of England. You'll have to see what he has to say about it, but there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in this book. So that is our A cover for that. We have our, this is the homage variant. Looks even more like one of your classic stories. We've got the Shalvey variant, or Walsh. I believe this is, yeah, this is Walsh.
It's got like a hint of Mike Mignola.
That's what I thought when I saw it. Very, almost like a screw on head look. We have our Dustin Wynn.
It's terrifying.
Yep. And we have our one per store Francavilla black and white sketch variant that we are selling to our customers for $20.
All right. Also out this Wednesday, I read House of Slaughter, issue number 10. So this issue, you get some of the younger members out camping, and they're telling sort of a campfire story of a lone hunter fighting a dragon. Well, this story is actually kind of telling what happens with Edwin, because as we know, Edwin went out all by himself. He discovered a dragon, and so you get to see the fight, but you get it in this interesting storytelling way.
Hmm.
So you get all that, but after that, Edwin is back at the house, and he's having to really explain himself a lot. Where has he been? What happened to his boat, which is destroyed? Did he really see a dragon? I mean, this hasn't happened in the United States in ages. He's not really well believed, I would say. And then the last sort of thing that it hints at, and I don't know where this is going to go. You'll have to read it for yourself and look at the last few pages and see what you think. But is it really Edwin back, or did maybe not all of them make it back, or maybe it's not him? It's I think it's going to get revealed, but it's definitely sort of a mystery, more mystery going on in House of Slaughter.
Sounds like a very chock full issue.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And we have here's the interior artist Deladera who did this variant. Of course, these are written by James Tynion. Then there is the 1 in 25 Virgin variant for $20. And lastly, they've been doing the body bag variants. This is another body bag variant where you have to open it up to see what you get.
Cool. Well, next up for me, I have. Be sure I got the whole title: DC Horror Sergeant Rock versus the Army of the Dead #2. Of course, this is the one written by Bruce Campbell. And I want to say this actually, I think, has a little bit more of that Bruce Campbell humor in it. The first issue was good, and it's got the kind of weirdness. This has a little bit of the humor, especially with the opening scene where you have your Nazi zombies in a bar. And these aren't just your lumbering zombies. These are almost like your, I don't know, they can't talk, but they like to drink. And so they drink and then the liquid comes out of different parts in their bodies and they're all laughing about that and just like hitting each other and pieces falling off. That kind of felt very Evil Dead to me. That kind of uh, morbid humor type thing. But in this, we do have Sergeant Rock and his gang kind of figuring out what's going on. They do come face to face and fight some zombies, run over a few of them with some eye popping good fun. And they come across Hitler's doctor. And if you remember what Hitler looked like in the first issue, he's maybe a little infected too with this zombie virus. So, what is this mysterious thing that's being transferred to Hitler's doctor? You'll have to see, but I really like this issue. This continues to be fun. It's not a heavy read. It's not overly dialogue full. So it just is a lot of really fun action. And that is our A cover. And then we have our Francavilla cover.
Okay, so I read Strange #7. This is also written by Jed MacKay with art by Marcelo Ferreira. And it was revealed last issue. So Clea is the current Sorcerer Supreme because Doctor Strange was killed.
Mm-hmm.
It was revealed last issue that Doctor Strange, although he is dead, he's been in this book. He was revealed to be the Harvestman, the new sort of person working for death, trying to stop Clea from bringing Doctor Strange back to life. So wrap your head around that. She's trying to bring Doctor Strange back to life, fighting somebody working for death who is Stephen Strange. Now, you'll find out why in this issue. Why would Stephen take this position from death that is, in a way, stopping Clea from doing what she wants to do? You'll also find out in this issue what there are parameters that Doctor Strange can fulfill to come back to life. And when Clea finds these out, she is very unhappy about it. She does not like what these parameters are. You'll have to read the issue to see what that is. Also in this issue, for the first time in a long time, Stephen Strange and Clea get to team up against someone else. However, it seems that maybe their powers and their current positions have set each other in opposition. So another good read of Strange. And then for the variant, this is the Vecchio variant for Strange #7.
It's funny. It's a book that feels like a mini series, but it's not, and so it's cool to see they're really playing out this storyline.
Yeah, I don't know at what point will happen if he comes back to life. It's like, okay, now are they together in the series?
Yeah,
Or I don't
yeah.
know.
So next up, I have a book that I haven't really talked about too much on the show, but thought I would mention this one. This is New Mutants number 31, and you can see on the cover there, this is Escapade's first issue into the New Mutants. So Escapade first made her appearance in the Marvel Pride special, the 2022 Pride special.
Right.
And I remember you talking about that being like, her powers are really interesting, don't know how they
Right.
technically work. So she does actually go into an explanation in this. It's still kind of up for grabs to what extent can you do this? Because she has the mutant ability to trade places with people, also
Yeah,
situations,
circumstances.
which is like borderline reality altering.
Yeah.
Because she even says like, I forgot if she's saying that like you won the lottery, but then I switch places with you, then I actually won. It's like I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
It's going to take some more issues to find out. But Escapade is joining kind of, not necessarily the New Mutants team, but she's on Krakoa. But she actually doesn't really like Krakoa. She likes it better where she's from, but knows that like this is kind of where you need to be. So it's funny to see that mindset of like it's not all that great. But she ends up making friends with some of the younger mutants that are on the island, and they have a little adventure together where you do see her powers come into play, at least mainly with a security guard. So her powers only work within, I think she said, like a 6 or 7 foot range.
Yeah, she has to be pretty close to them.
So 1 minute the guard is standing there guarding him, and the next second the guard is in the jail cell and she's standing out there. So it's like, okay, I understand that like body swap power, but I really want to see how this situational power plays out when, and she even describes it as like, you could die or I could die and switch places with you in that moment, and then I'm alive and you're dead. So it's a very powerful ability that I'm really looking forward to seeing play out. But the art was great. I think it's a lot of fun. If you're looking for a new character to follow, all you need is that Pride special and then this issue for a kind of a new X character, which I think is really cool. We also have some variants for it. We have the Segovia variant, and we have the Art Adams character variant. And that's it.
Okay, so I read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Armageddon Game #2. So this is the 8-issue big Turtles event that is going on. So let me tell you what's happening in this issue. So this is written by Tom Waltz, who does the main Turtle series, who I think does an excellent job writing in general. Like when I read the Turtle stuff, I feel like I've read 3 of any other comic. There's just more going on in them. The art is done by Vincenzo Frederici, who does a great job of the art. I think it's represented well. If you think the covers look good, the interior art's just as good. So last issue, the group split up with some of them going to Dimension X to try to round up old friends, foes, anyone they can to come back because they know that this, Armageddon game is heating up and things are about to get bad. The rest of them stayed back. So you get to see their exploits in Dimension X. You get to see what people, some surprise characters you haven't seen in a while who are going to join up with them. The other thing that's happening is you had it where Mayor Stockman was having his press conference and it was attacked by a group of evil turtles who looked like the Ninja Turtles. Well, you get to see how that ends up, and you get to find out they're just not trying to look like them. One speaks, and somebody's like, "Hey, you're Michelangelo," and he's like, "No, I'm Leonardo." So
Hmm.
they either really think this or I don't know, but the plot thickens on these
Yeah.
evil turtles. So that's some of the things that happen in this. A lot of interactions otherwise.
Do you learn what the Armageddon game is yet?
Oh no, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a long-term plan.
yeah, Rat King's plan is a very, very big one that nobody quite knows yet. So, but I'm sure the evil turtles have a big part to it. So that is what's going on in issue number 2. And then we have the Sophie Campbell variant.
Is that character in this?
That character is in
Okay,
this.
yeah, I remember reading about that.
Yep. And we'll be in the next issue too. Here is the Kevin Eastman variant.
Cool, get Eastman to draw those evil turtles.
That's right. Yep. That is how they look. And lastly, there's a 1 in 10 Milano variant we're selling to our customers for $10. That's my last one to go over. I think you got two.
Yeah.
I think you read one more than me, or 2 more than me.
Yeah, when people ask me like, "What's your dream project to work on?" Ninja Turtles is up there. How cool is it? Like Ninja Turtles is just killing it right now. It's so much fun. Such cool characters. Okay, so for my last ones, just wanted to show next issue of Dr. Aphra came out. This is Dr. Aphra 25. It's funny, some of them they chose to make 25 a big issue. Some of them it's just another issue. So another good issue. Aphra's still kind of possessed by the Spark Eternal. You see what's going on with, I guess, Aphra's consciousness within the Spark Eternal as it's kind of controlling her body. Really cool issue of that. And we have the variants for that one. We have the Land Star Wars Anniversary cover. These are really cool. It's cool to see which scenes they pick out. And we also have, I believe this is I think it's a Bustos variant. I'm not positive. And then lastly, I just want to remind you that the new Tim Drake Robin series is at issue number 2. If you read issue number 1, definitely want to pick up issue number 2. A very Sherlock Holmes and Watson feel to this one, even so much as the art changes to show Tim as kind of a Sherlock character in a black and white setting. It's very weird, but very interesting. It's an interesting take on the character. There's possibly, I don't know if I would say a new villain in the end of it. We don't know enough about the character yet to see is this a character we've seen before or not. But there is kind of a hint to who's going to be one of the big bad guys in this. Also wanted to show this off because it has this incredibly cool Dan Mora homage variant cover. This time with Dick holding the ring and Tim Drake jumping through it, watching Robin's first appearance.
Okay, so I believe that is our show for today. I think between the two of us, we went over 26 new comics that are releasing this week. Their variants and their incentives. If you've watched this whole show, I think you will know way better which books you want to pick up. That's why we do it. I mean, you walk in a comic store on New Comic Day, it's very overwhelming. So whether you watch us for that reason or any other reason, thank you very much. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. We very much appreciate that. And if you want to buy some comics, Megan will be on Whatnot tonight at 7 p.m. selling. She does her old and new. So she sells old classic comics, but she also does some of these and some of the incentives we have, stuff that's not even out till Tuesday or Wednesday. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll be back on Friday with comics from the future. So until then, have a great day.